their transportation experience or their flight, whether it was going out to a meeting or going out to an event or coming home or going to Europe for a board of directors meeting or something. Our objective always was to make sure they were safe, comfortable, and at that time, if they wanted it to be, that time could be productive. Whether they needed to sleep, take a nap, or have a meeting in the back of the airplane, or just write and rehearse a speech. And I can tell you many, many times I've been sitting up front in a corporate airplane and I got to hear the first version of a very important speech.
Oh, what a fascinating thing. That's actually fascinating.
It really is, and you kind of reflect on it, and not that you learn to, part of being a business aviation pilot is that you look past the substance. You don't listen to some, a private conversation.
There's a level of trust.
And that's
a pilot and their passenger.
And that's a very special.
Huge.
It's a very special relationship that exists, and
whether it's corporate or not.
Absolutely.
Whoever's sitting in the other seat is counting on you.
Absolutely.
Or in the back.
We're working as a team.
Yeah, I think that's a big part of this story. Is there's a level of trust in aviation, and people trust aviators. I think there's a lot to that.
I always felt extremely fortunate, blessed, to be trusted by the captains of industry in this country that were running major corporations. And I knew at any given time that if that trust and the honesty that in the relationship has to be there. And for whatever reason, if you lose that, you might as well do something else.
Right.
And it's a very big part of being a corporate pilot. And it's, what happens in that airplane, what happens on those trips is completely confidential. Don't even think about that part of it. But you end up gaining I ended up gaining a tremendous appreciation for the pressures and the key decisions that are made by executives that are running major corporations. And these are very special people. And the gentleman that built the facility here had a very high regard for his transportation, has a very high regard for his transportation experience. And he's a very special man.
And trust goes both ways.
And you just feel that it's a huge honor to just have an opportunity to support his guests, affiliations, and to think that he would put an expensive asset, but also entrust his family and his key executives in the hands of our operation is a very special experience.
I know you retired, but do you still fly?
No, I don't. I don't fly, other than on the airlines. I've been to many places around the world, and generally spent a lot of time at FBOs and general aviation operations like this, and frequently had a little bit of a limited chance to see the surrounding area. But I'm going back to some of the places that I have touched down at, and traveling a little bit now with my wife, who's also was a pilot.
Oh, that's cool. But no desire to get a Cessna or a Beechcraft.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, the flame never goes out.
That's
And as you and I were talking before, I don't live very far from the airport, and if I'm out in the yard, whether I'm mowing the yard or cooking out or just standing out in the yard with the dog or something, we get to see a lot of very interesting airplanes that are visiting Dayton International Airport, or right, Pat? And I get a stiff neck all the time watching, and during air show time, it's fascinating. I cannot stay inside when the Blue Angels or the Thunderbirds are maneuvering.
Or the B-17s.
Or whatever it
B-29.
might be. That's exactly right.
I was just thinking about that discussion about a level of trust. When I passed my test, And the first time I took one of my children, who were pretty small, on an airplane ride, that's a big deal.
Yep.
Because not only are you dealing with all this, there is your legacy
Absolutely.
in many ways, who's looking at you like, cool, Dad, let's go. And
It's a little different than taking them in the car.
it's a lot different than taking them in the car. But they get used to the, let's go to Urbana and get a hamburger. Okay, let's go, and
To be able to provide them with that experience.
it's one of the best things of my life was being able to be that I fulfilled that personal goal to become a pilot. And then took my kids on camping trips and we went fishing and we did stuff that I think they treasure now and still remember that. And I think that's huge.
That's very special that you had that opportunity. You'll have that forever, and they will too.
That's what it's all about. That's what all this is about. It's I don't, my wife at the time said, well, I don't want to fly with you, what do you know what you're doing? I said, look, they don't give these things away.
That's right. Yeah, and it was a major investment for most of us to learn how to fly to begin with, and to make the sacrifices necessary to work in aviation.
As you said, it's from dusk to dawn.
And
the other way around.
if you take the pay and divide it by the hours that you spend directly on the job and training and thinking about your job, you don't really even think about it.
No, you
And
don't.
most of the people that I worked with in aviation, in general aviation and corporate aviation, we'd have 12, 14, 15, 16 hours of work.
Yeah.
And most of these people could go home at night and pick up a flying magazine or
Absolutely.
Pro Pilot magazine or an aviation space and technology magazine and read an article about aviation.
Right. Because you said
There-
the
there's-
flame never goes out.
There's and I suppose, and I have a few doctor friends that do the same thing. They invest their lives in what they are good at and what they're passionate about. And
It's not really work when you're passionate.
no, and it's just a very special way to be able to spend your career and the time that we have, the limited time we have on Earth. And I really feel very fortunate that I had the opportunity to fly the machines and be associated with the people who pay for the machines.
Yes.
And so it's a very rewarding experience. And I think communities that invest in their aviation resources and infrastructure have been shown to be the most attractive places for businesses to stay in and businesses to be attracted into the area. And Dayton International Airport is definitely has a huge amount strategic offering for companies moving to the area, or people coming to the area that work for some other company or that work for a company and they want to be able to travel conveniently.